Did you or your constituents any response to all the accusations about the lies that
I'm sorry. I have spoken to constituents largely, and I've been fielding calls and answers this whole time.
Are any of them concerned about any of the accusations that have come out in the media about?
You know, the media does one good thing is you guys like blowing stories that are not there up, and you also use word salads to make sure you confuse the constituency of the American people.
Irony is dead. George Santos accusing others of word salad. That was Republican Congressman George Santos blaming the media for the string of lies he's told about his education, his resume, his religious background, and his family, some of which he has confessed to. New polling this morning from Newsday and Siena College shows 78% of voters from Congressman Santos's district want him to resign from office. 78%. That includes 89% of Democrats, 72% of independents, and yes, 71% of Republicans want him gone. Joining us now, editor at The New Yorker, Zach Helfand. His latest piece is titled, Meet the Man Who Brought You George Santos. Zach, it's great to have you on this morning. So many people are wondering how this happened. How did this guy get elected? And a big part of the story is a guy named Chris Grant. Who is he?
Chris Grant is the operative that was the general consultant for the campaign. So he kind of helped run the campaign, guided the campaign in many ways, and in many ways helped George Santos actually win. He runs a consultancy called Big Dog Strategies. So he consults on, last cycle was 100, maybe a little bit more than 100 Republican campaigns, but he was the lead operative, kind of the Svengali for about 8 of them. And he was the guy who took over George Santos's campaign after the previous consultants quit.
So we've had all this reporting that even people inside the campaign were aware of George Santos's lies, and some of them even suggested he drop out of the race because it was going to be ugly when they were revealed. That was not the strategy, I take it, of Chris Grant. How did he approach this campaign?
Well, so there's still an open question of how much they knew. There was this opposition research panel that they convened, and they have this packet of opposition research. But we don't know exactly how much they knew. But his strategy essentially was to run on the issues. And if you look at George Santos, like he gave a couple speeches on the floor of Congress now. He's not very exciting other than all the fantastical lies. You take that away, and there's a lot to take away. But if you take it away, he's a little bit dull. And I think in some ways that helped. They ran on the issues. They ran on inflation. They ran on crime. And that was basically it. And in a race when maybe a lot of voters weren't paying a ton of attention, it wasn't a presidential year, that was enough. He won by 8 points, so it wasn't like he just squeaked by.
So this Chris Grant, co-founder of Big Dog Strategies, how did he and Santos get linked up? And Grant, you mentioned, has had, wide resume, a lot of other candidates. Have there been any others that have had any similar embellishments or even in the ballpark of what were Santos? But is this a pattern we're seeing?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a pattern. There are a lot of candidates that he represents, and they're kind of in that world. So you need a political operative. You go to someone like Big Dog. It's a name that people know because he's worked on campaigns. He's had a pretty good track record. There was another candidate of his, Steve Watkins, who was kind of like a proto-Santos, not quite as imaginative maybe, but he won a race in Kansas for Congress. It later emerged that he had embellished parts of his story. He said that he was a hero on Mount Everest. He saved people after the earthquake there. At least he unlike Santos, he was actually close to Mount Everest, close to base camp. He didn't save anyone. It was unclear if he actually lived in the district. He had some property in Alaska. It was unclear if he had property in Kansas. He listed his address as a UPS store. But this is, I think, when you're a political operative, you don't always get to choose your candidates. And the question that interested me is, when do you say no? Do you cut bait? And the answer for him was no, you stay the course and you try to win.
And Gene, obviously one of the lessons so many of these candidates have learned from Donald Trump is when there's scandal out there, when there are lies, just put your head down and plow through them.
Exactly. That's what Trump did, and he's still standing, although we don't know for how long, but he's still standing. Zach, my question is whether Santos's Svengali knew anything, or according to your reporting, about the money that went into the campaign, this phantom $700,000 that was lent by Santos, and it was not lent by Santos, apparently. Where was the money coming from, and what was his window on that or involvement in that?
That's a big question. I don't know for sure. So what we do know is that when you're a general consultant for a campaign, one of the things you're overseeing is the budget. Maybe the most important thing that you're overseeing is the budget. On the other campaign, they decided their budget did not include enough money for really thorough opposition research. So you could see how important managing that money is. So for Chris Grant, did he know where the money was coming from? That's unclear, but we do know that he was one of the people in charge of determining the money, allocating the money, planning for what money was coming in.
The piece is titled "Meet the Man Who Brought You George Santos." Worth your read at The New Yorker. Editor Zach Helfand. Zach, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me on.